that when you're clipping your threads that you move your machine at least 6 inches away so that it leaves a tail from where you cut your bobbin thread to where it comes out of the machine, so that you have that tail as it starts your next one. Now we're ready to mirror this design and reposition it. So what we need to do is go to our screen, Quilt, Mirror. We want to flip it, so we're going to mirror it vertical. And now we're ready to position it. So we're done, and we need to move the machine. We'll go to Reposition Pattern, move the machine over to the bottom left corner. Looking at the fabric, I want to go down here and I want to drop that needle so that I make sure that it dropped down right where I wanted it to, and that was, maybe I'll check that again. Yep, I like that. Now I want to press Find Start Point, and it will place the start point at the crosshairs, which represent where the needle is. Now, again, if I want to, I'll raise up my half stitch, the needle, and I can follow it across to make sure that it's going to stitch properly. And my most important point is to see if it's going to end at this right side. If I zoom in on this and press follow, it will follow across to making sure that everything is going to stitch correctly. And I'm going to go to this point again, drop my needle, and make sure that it's right where it should be, and it is. It's going to land right on that point. Okay, we're positioned. It's time to stitch again. Moving it back. Done. Run quilt. Start quilting. All of my things are checked. Stitching. Start quilting. It will move over to the left corner. Take my first stitch and disable its motors, and then resume, and that will start doing its tie-offs. And now it's going in this direction, so I can just hold my threads down here out of the way. And there we go. Isn't that a beautiful pattern? Very traditional. A nice sashing between blocks or in borders. If I would have put 10 repeats, it would have looked more like this, and so it would have been an altogether different look. It's just your preference, your choice of what you'd like to have it. There we go. I'm going to make sure that hits right in that point again. Does its tie-offs. There we go. It wasn't that easy? And it makes such a beautiful design. The next design that I'd like to show you are pumpkin seeds, that we call it. And it is the same clamshell or half circle design, or half circle, but we offset it and we mirror it. So there it is on fabric, and I already have it set up on the screen. We're going to do just 4 on here, and I've resized it so they're 1.5. I've repositioned it. We're ready to start quilting. I have my start tie-off, my end tie-off, my pull-up. I'm going to go ahead and check the auto pull-up this time, and so it will automatically move the machine aside. Everything is set the way I want it, ready to start quilting. I know that the stitching will come down here, so I'm going to go ahead and hold my bobbin thread behind the stitching. And then it'll go ahead and stitch those half circles again. Again, I'm stitching it slow enough that if I feel like it's not going to be, I can just stitch in there. I can manipulate my fabric just slightly. Okay, it's finished. It's going to do its tie off, and then we'll be able to clip that thread. Disable my motors, move my machine aside, give it some slack on the thread, move that machine aside, and clip my threads. Now it's time to go back to the screen. Quilt, I want to mirror this, mirror it vertical. And then my positioning will be that I will take this point and position it halfway into my first one. We'll see as we do that on the fabric. Go to Reposition, moving my screen, and I want to find out where this halfway point is. So if I start over here on the edge, if I look at my screen, I start over here and that's 0. I can move this aside a half of the design, and I'm going to move it down so that it's right on that stitch point. I want it to be 1.5, and let's make sure we're right where we want to be. And then if I say find my start point will be right here, and it will stitch across and across. Okay, let's do it. Run quilt, start quilting. I want to bring up my needle out of the fabric, start quilting, move aside so that I can bring up my bobbin thread. Just doing my tie-offs, and then it will stitch right over that. I have just created my pumpkin seeds, a new border or sashing. You can make it any size, smaller, larger, but you still get the same effect. You could even stretch it out if you wanted. And there it's finished. Now it'll go ahead and tie off. And now we have quite a few different variations using the half circle to do clamshells, pumpkin seeds, fish, or any other kind of design you want. You could even do full circles. Okay, you'll notice that we have a half a pumpkin seed missing here and on the other side. So the ideal thing would have been to have taken my pumpkin seed and started it outside again, just like we did with our clamshells, so that it would have come into and made a full pumpkin seed. So by doing that, you would have done the same thing you did with your clamshells, and you would add one extra clamshell on your second row as it stitches across. That way, every pumpkin seed is full.